Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. He comes highly recommended, mainly by his expertise as being an agile expert. He is helping a lot of people all around the world, empowering their small businesses, helping small business owners and entrepreneurs and companies really expand and grow and scale, mainly through his agile practices and techniques, helping them really improve their workflow, streamlining it, improving their collaboration, sparking innovation, and by implementing fun and flexible and also fulfilling techniques, he's able to help these companies become smarter, become more adaptable, and of course grow with less and less stress. He's able to really leverage a lot of his extensive background and experiences as a project management expert professional. He's a Safe 5 Agilist. He's a Scrum Master. He's a product owner, also a brand management expert for a luxury wine and spirits company. He is also an author of the book Agile Made Simple. So please welcome author, coach, agile coach, and speaker, Mr. Dare MAKUN.
Thank you, Fong. Now, yeah, I just want to correct something. I'm not an expert. I like to say that. I'm a learner who's learning and sharing what I learned.
Well, to be fair, right now you are the expert because I'm not in that area. So to me, you're an expert in that field. So thank you very much for being here. It's always a joy speaking with people who has so much expertise in their area of work and career wise, and being able to and willing to share that knowledge to other people so that they too can grow. And as we all know, as you share more, you learn and you grow as well. So it's that
Correct.
never-ending cycle of knowledge transfer. So thank you very much for your time.
Correct. Yeah.
So
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
before we jump into the nitty-gritty stuff, first of all, what exactly is an agile expert or agile tech person who coaches in agility? And then also, how did you get to picking this as your career path?
So let's start with agility. That's the first thing. Being agile is really a method of working and managing projects that emphasizes adaptability, collaboration, and the rapid delivery of value. So through iteration. So I'd like to use an example of your phone. When you got your phone, when it was shipped to you, your smartphone, for instance, it was shipped to you with some basic promises. It had the basic functionality. And then over time, the value of the phone keeps getting better, right? You get updates, you get periodic updates, you wake up in the morning, you've seen something new. Facebook looks different from how it looked yesterday. All the software you use on a daily, this is how agility works. So that is agile in motion. Just wanted to clear that out. Now, the phrase itself started in software development. Around 2002, software engineers went to this remote location. They were talking about how we can improve how we're delivering projects to people, how we're delivering software solutions and things like that. So it's always been known that traditionally project management is quite rigid, meaning you follow a sequential process. You go, you initiate, you plan, then you execute, then you monitor and control, and then you start to work on the project. So when by the time you deliver that value, that set value to the client, the needs might have changed. Think about how you and me consume information. We probably on our phones a lot. I get all of my information from my phone for the most part. And so that is how agility works, right? And so these people said, this isn't how work should be delivered. Let's look for other ways to deliver value. Therefore, the Agile Manifesto, which is like a guide, this is what we will do, was based on four core values and 12 principles. And that became the foundation of how you run Agile. Now, what is this Agile coach? The Agile coach is the person who has learned how this core values and the 12 principles should work in an environment, and they are responsible for teaching teams how to implement agility. So, uh, in an ideal scenario, like one of the big frameworks in Agile is Scrum. You probably have heard about Scrum and sprints. This is where you're setting up a small team, maybe about 9 people. Let's say average, the textbook says 9. It's going to vary from project to project and team to team. But really, what they compose of is three main roles. Now, These are roles, not their titles, not what you do. The roles are really your scrum master, and then there's a product owner, and then there's a development team. The scrum master is like the de facto agile coach on the team. He is not a project manager. He is the person who is making sure this small team is focused on delivering value in what we call predefined sprints, right? So think of a sprint like you're running towards something, like literally in the Olympics, you're sprinting. Um, Sprints are usually is a way of running the Scrum ceremony whereby you are um, delivering value in increments of say 2 weeks. We say we're meeting with this core team that we have. Let's deliver value, whatever we've defined as our sprint goal. Within 2 weeks, let's deliver that value. Now you work, you focus all your energy. This small team focus everything together. The product owner defines what is priority from a functionality standpoint. The product owner, I think of it on the team as the person who is the voice of the customer, bringing in what the team should really focus on. While the scrum master is the guy who's saying this is how we're supposed to be working to achieve that goal. Then the development team, of course, is a team of individuals who are delivering the value. I'm just I hope it makes sense,
Yeah.
So that is how you would run agile in within the context of agility in the software space. What I try to do with this book is, okay, I've learned all this just from being my experience. How can I apply this in real life scenarios where a small business owner can implement some of these techniques in what they do? Think about the way we live now. Everything is fast paced. Everything we're doing, you almost can't keep up. You can't rely on your traditional way of running business. You need to have, therefore, a mindset that's adaptable. Again, works collaboratively with your customer on an ongoing basis. And that way you get feedback into your business to improve the value you're delivering to that customer. This is how I wrote the book. So what I did in the book was just try to break down how agility will work in different scenarios. Now I hope I answered some of your questions. I'm trying to remember what the last one was, but if you remind me, yeah.
Yeah, how did you pick this path of being like you started in IT, correct?
No, I actually
Oh,
didn't. So I started, yeah, it's a good question. I started out years ago, I started out as a brand manager. You talked about it. I was working in a developing country. Because I came from there, Nigeria at the time. So I was a brand manager for luxury wines and spirit business. They were looking to grow in that market. So I left that, came to the US for school. Actually came
oh,
to school. And when I came in, kind of changed path completely from marketing to no marketing and brand management into MBA. I got my MBA at the time. So after I did the MBA, I got interested in project management. And so with project management came, okay, what are the certifications I needed to do? I had a mentor at the time who got me interested in the project management professional certification, which is a PMP. So the project management certification, of course, is rigorous test where you get a certification, and then it doesn't mean you're a great project manager. It doesn't mean you're qualified to be. Yeah, this means you know how to manage projects according to the Project Management Institute, which is a body that provides the certification. So I did that for a long time. So I worked with different teams and started to learn about agile. Agile became a thing in the world of project management and indeed software development. So I really caught on, decided to learn about agility, learn about how it works. So I took all of the certifications again and continued to learn. So being agile is about learning continuously, right? So, and that is how I have always lived my life. It's been like mindset of what's the newest thing I can learn. As AI started to grow, I said to learn about that. How can I infuse that into what I do with agile? This has been my path to where I am today. So, project management background heavily, then into the agile space, which is kind of related because it's just It's just another way of managing projects, so to speak.
First of all, I want to
More like,
apologize
yeah.
for saying that you were part IT because when you're talking about software development, my mind went IT. I'm like, okay, anyway.
No,
Um,
yeah, but I'm in IT now. I did come out of IT. I got into IT, but in the real sense of IT, I don't write software.
mhm,
I don't, I work with teams that do.
yeah,
I'm not a software engineer. I'm just more of a Scrum Master, project manager on teams that do such things,
yeah.
what I
Like,
still do today. Yeah,
so the thing is, what I liked about when you were explaining agility is that sometimes in the traditional sense, when people come up with a project or a product, and by the time it's done, because they're following the traditional path, that need is no longer there.
correct.
And you mentioned about the how Apple comes up with updates and more updates, not more updates. How I like to see is like you can't have a perfect product or item that goes out there. If you keep on aiming for perfection, you're never gonna release it. And that's why
Correct.
they do what they do. You have updates. And a lot of people out there are so worried about having something perfect before they put it out there that they delay, and it never ever happens. So
Yes.
when it comes to that mindset of being agile, what what can people do on a daily basis? Because the thing is, you have to be open for different ideas. You have to be flexible. You have to act fast. Like speed of implementation is so important when it comes to agility. But that's not a trait that most people have. So what can people do on a daily basis to increase their ability to like implement faster, to be more open, to be more flexible?
So I think you were spot on with your analogy of waiting for a perfect product. I'm well guilty of that. If you're a perfectionist, you probably want something to come out the best way before you release it. But what you learn from the technologist is you don't have the luxury of waiting, right? There's too much going on, so everything is based on speed. Who's coming out quickly? For a small business, is how I look at it, right? How you can already begin to have that mindset. Think about what you're doing on a daily basis. What component of your work, for instance, can I get out to the market quickly? No matter, think about, so there's a concept called the minimum viable product in agility, which is basically what is the most basic version of the product that I can get out
Mhm.
to the market. And then it's it's not just what that does for you. It doesn't get your product out, but it is a way for you to test that this product is actually what the market wants rather than spending time, money, resources. The triple constraints of every project management is normally time, scope, and money. If you spend all your time developing a perfect product and then it goes to the market and your customers say, nah,
Don't need it.
I don't really want that one. I mean, you just spent a whole lot of money and time and energy, quite deflating. So I would say start looking for ways to respond to the market faster. What kind of big goals can you break down to manageable chunks that you can work on? So long-term planning is very important. I'm not saying you shouldn't do long-term planning. What I'm saying is with your long-term plans, break it down now. Okay, this is our goal. 5 years, we want to be here. In a year, what can we do? In a year, how many quarters? We have 4 quarters. So what can we do in Q1? What can we do in Q2? When you break down what you can do in, say, between January and March into a small chunk, put all your efforts into it, deliver a small piece of it, then collaborate with your customer, because that's the point of agility, putting the customer at the heart of everything you're doing, and then create a feedback loop where you're able to continuously improve. So you have a product. The point is you're striving for continuous improvement, progress over perfection, not waiting to have a perfect product because there really isn't a perfect product. Think the iPhone 16, the
Huh.
big the big selling point was it's going to have AI, artificial Apple intelligence, right? It was supposed to have Apple Intel. The first products that were shipped late last year did not have Apple Intelligence. They told you it was a problem. It was going to come in 3 months and then 4 months and then six. That's how it works, right? But you have the phone already. And when it comes, it's seamlessly just say what they were doing behind the scenes. I don't work with Apple or anything, but I know for a fact that they were probably getting feedback, refining what they already had
Mhm.
ready to go based on user experience, how people are expecting to do things on the phone, how the trend is changing around AI and things like that. So that's how we, as a business, as a small business, I consider myself a small business, how can I stay flexible in a way that I am ready to update what I already have based on new information that the market gives to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the simplest way to look at this. Not even, let's forget the frameworks or the methodologies, or just think your mindset is things are happening too fast. I can't put things out to, put things off till later, because by the time you think about bringing out your old, because now your technology might be obsolete.
Yeah,
Whatever you're delivering might be obsolete by the time it gets out, because customer behavior has changed based on new information. Just how COVID-19 changed the whole world, the way you and me are talking now. Zoom became the primary go-to for a lot of companies because we just couldn't interact with each other, not because of anything we did, but because of what the situation was around us.
exactly.
That's not gonna change. That's consistent. That's gonna keep happening. So I'll just say, yeah, break down big chunks of your work into small pieces. Matter of fact, when you deliver value and with your small team, there's a feeling you get, that dopamine feeling of we just won.
Mhm.
So at the end of every sprint, for instance, we recommend with my teams is celebrate. We just deliver the small piece, whatever it might be, a feature. It might be in IT, in the way writing code, and it might be just a small. Maybe now there's a pop-up that simplifies how you as a customer interacts with our technology better than the next guy or how it was before. It could be something that simple, but it you're solving a big problem with just a small, simple fix.
Mhm.
So that's the way to think about it.
Very, very cool. I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that you said iPhone 16, well, obviously there was 15 other ones that came out that were not perfect yet, right?
Correct.
So the
Correct.
fact is, like, lots of people out there are so scared of putting something out there that's not perfect or complete, yet they're consuming products that are actually not perfect yet. And they don't
Correct.
put two and two together and understand that that's how the world works. And having that mindset of being agile, having that mindset of being able to adapt and change and listening to customers' feedback is so important. I mean, there's so many products out there, and I think Apple is one of them, that they release a product and consumers and product users are using that product in a way that they didn't even expect them to use it.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
now, all of a sudden, with that feedback, they can adapt to it and now customize to that type of usage, which they never planned for, which is completely amazing because people don't think about that because you don't know what you don't know.
You see, you make a very good point. So you're talking about even and this is recommended if you listen to Jack Dorsey, all of the tech giants, right? They talk about experimentation a lot. Sam Altman actually talks about the OpenAI guy. He talks about getting in the habit of experimenting. That's what you got to do as a business. You never know what new information you get from the customer who's going to be using your service, your product, whatever it is you have out in the market. It's new information for you, but you wouldn't know that if you already assume, oh yeah, I know you're gonna like this. I'm gonna make it perfect before I get it out to you. No, instead, when I'll give you an instance, I built a chatbot for a client, insurance broker, and how we did it is okay. We did a first one-on-one because he's just the one guy. So we did the first one-on-one. I understood what he wanted, took that information, put it together, did a wireframe. Okay, is this like in the direction of what you're thinking? Said, no, yeah, tweak that, change that, want some pictures here, that. Okay, took that information to my developers, worked on it, shared it with him again. Okay, now we're making progress. I didn't wait. So this project I estimated, okay, it'll take a month, maybe. But in a week, I had some to show him.
Mhm.
And then the next week, I had another update to what we shared last week. And then on the third week, he had a better, okay, okay, now this is what it's looking at. Matter of fact, we didn't need a fourth week because by the third week, we were done. That's how you work. You start small, put all your energy into a small piece of it. I'll say introduce there's one way to do this. Introduce agile habits daily. It could be there's something in my book I talk about daily stand-ups. It could be a daily check-in. I do that with my team. It's just a way, maybe at the same time. If you're co-located, it's better. You're standing around, literally standing up. The agile uh, we recommend standing up because the reason for that stand up is this is not an open-ended meeting. It's a 15-minute meeting max. It's a short meeting. We have specific things we're answering at this meeting. If depending on the size of a team, you probably have 2-3 minutes to answer a question, right? Just what did I do yesterday? Are we making progress towards that our goal for the sprint? If there's anything blocking you, we can now identify it as a team. You know what that does is now one of the core principles of Agile is people interacting over processes and tools. What that daily check-in does is now teams are usually probably siloed. Now they're talking together about what they're doing. So now you have a bird's eye view picture of how the organization is working, no matter how small, right? So just doing that daily check-in. Remember, I told you the product owner helps you prioritize. Maybe you don't have a product owner on your team. Maybe you just have somebody who helps you identify what the team should be working on. Developers and software engineers on the development team, those guys are way, way, way smarter than me, right? They're writing code. I learned to write code. Trust me, I knew very quickly this isn't something for me. Yeah, I did learn software engineering, by the way. I did learn a little bit, but I knew very quickly it's not for me. So the people who are they're just writing code, they're zoned in. Now, are they working on the right thing? I don't know. That's the question. So somebody has to help them define what the right thing is. What is the priority? That's the point of agility. Your team should be working on priority tasks, not just because in project management, you could say, yeah, my project is 90% complete. Well, what does that mean? In project management lingo, that means, oh yeah, we've checked all the things we said we would do.
Mhm.
But is there working software yet? No, we're far from it. So how is it 90% complete? You understand? So in agility though, in the agile mindset, the working solution is important, no matter how bare bones it is. Get it out. So you want to have your team working collaboratively, delivering value on an ongoing basis to the customer, working with the customer to get the feedback, responding to change as things happen in the market. You're responding, and therefore your teams can reprioritize. Last week we prioritized A. This week we're prioritizing C.
Mhm.
That's the way to look at it.
Mhm.
So it's an ongoing thing. You don't want to wait till you have a final product, and the market usually tells you what they prefer anyway. To your point, you might find out, hey, we're deep into this now. We're going into DeepSeek, just a tangent there. When DeepSeek blew everybody's mind with what they were doing out in China, the whole AI world, I tell you, shook, right? The whole world shook
Mhm.
because this was unexpected. It means now OpenAI and even Google, Gemini, and all the other platforms out there, they have to rethink their strategies. They have to rethink how they're doing things. So it's just things are happening too fast, man. You can't really, you can't be stuck in your ways and not really ready to change. What I'm advocating for and what I am preaching is not even I talk less about the technical piece in the book.
Mm.
Instead, having a mindset of adjusting, adapting, learning, experimenting, failing, but knowing why you failed. That's what we call something part of and when you run the Scrum, part of the ceremonies you do is called a retrospective. So at the end of that sprint, what is a retrospective? We're pausing to say, how did we do? This is not a time to point fingers, but you're checking in with the just a pulse check, right? Usually in that meeting, you want to it can that's not a 15 minutes meeting. This is a long meeting because now you're doing I don't like the word, but it's a postmortem, if you will, like what will happen well in this sprint that we could improve on in the next sprint. The output of this retrospective is ways of getting better. So it's a way to, we're not leaving the meeting with, oh yeah, yeah, we did that great. Know that normally when I did this, we use a tool called, I use some different tools, but you would say, hey, this worked well during the sprint. Yay, team, more of that. What I like to hear is what didn't work well, not because we're trying to point fingers at diary, but because we're trying to see why that happened. And then that's where I ask a question like, why did it happen? And then you could use tools like the five whys, which again, it's out there. So you find a lot of things from lean management, which is old. Lean management started in heavily. Toyota was a big advocate for lean management in the back in the days and manufacturing. They're the biggest in as far as lean management, and a lot of those you find a lot of those techniques embedded in what is called agile today. So you find things like Kanban, even things like using some of what Lean does. You find frameworks like Lean Agile. You find different things out there. You find things like disciplined agile delivery, which is the one I focus a lot on because it gives teams the leeway to choose in a toolbox what works best for you given your situation. So the point of using an agile coach is people might read my book, for instance. You can Google, you can use AI to teach you what agile is. You're probably gonna find a lot of information out there. You can take that and go implement it. That's okay. But here's what I found that happens. People say, "Oh yeah, we're running Scrum," but why are you running Scrum? Is your business, is your delivery chain, is your value stream, is it aligned with that? Is that going to help you achieve it? Is that the best methodology to use for what you're doing? Is that the best framework? So those are the questions you need to know that, okay, what is it that what problem are we solving for?
Right.
That's the first thing. You got to ask yourself, what's the problem? Then work your way backwards. Keep learning, start small, and just cultivate a mindset of growth. Like, yeah, we want to continue to improve. Teach your team to continue to learn. I am, like I said, I was saying at the beginning, saying about I don't consider myself an expert. That's because um, something I learned in martial arts, which I do very well, is you just keep learning. You start from white to a black for a reason. And the point is your belt is getting darker as you train, the more you train. And so that is the same mindset I use I'm consuming information daily. I read a lot of books. I read them, I micro learn. I'm reading books on, using all the different apps that I can afford, using it to, taking 100 books in a month sometimes, quick summaries. I'm reading long form books as well, continuously learning about what's new out there, especially with AI. AI is moving too fast, gosh. So I am also trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, by the time the book comes out, that AI stuff that they talked about is already obsolete.
Correct. So you just got to keep learning, and learning because you want to inform yourself, but also learning about ways to add value to your customers, pretty much.
Right.
And the only way to do that is being open. You can't. What happens is why I'm careful about being called an expert is you're pretty much saying you're the best in everything, therefore you're not taking in new information.
That's
And
very
that's what I don't want to do. So I want to say I'm still learning. I will continue to learn. If I go into a team, no matter what I've read in the textbooks, no matter what I've learned about in my experience, this team is dynamic, right? The way they work is different. There's no two teams that are aligned, even within the same organization. I've
right.
been I've been in came from corporate America, right? Where um I've been on actually been on two different not two multiple different teams at the same project manager, right? And I know that the way we work on this team is different from the way we work, and we're in the same organization. Matter of fact, sometimes the two teams don't even talk to each other to know what, yeah. So, and the bigger you are, the more complex it is. So, the reason I said Agile Made Simple, a small business guide, is I was specific to try to talk to the small mom and pop, the small, you have a restaurant, a coffee shop, something. There are ways you can be agile. Really, how are you open to let your mindset shift from being rigid? Oh, this is the way we've always done it. Now, this is how when teams, there's a lot of resistance to change, by the way, because agility is about change. And so you find when I years ago when the teams who came to teach us how to be agile came in, there was a lot of resistance because you find people who are used to their ways um asking questions like why are we doing this? What is and those are important questions to answer from you as a business owner to your teams because there'll be questions. The way I go about that is share your reason why, show them the numbers, show them the data that shows that we can't really just continue to do the things the way we're doing. We have to change. Things are moving too fast. There's a lot going out there in the market we need to keep up with. By the time the person who's doing that work realizes their impact on the business and extensively the customer, they would see why there's a need to pivot and have a mindset of agility and such. That's
Totally
the way
agree
I
with
would.
that. And I don't know, like when it comes to change, so many people are so afraid of it because it's the unknown for them. And I think that I think I've heard a few other business experts out there and coaches go, well, okay, this is what you do. You lay it all out. Here's all the facts, here's all the numbers, here's all the backup information that would support all these. You make the decision. What do you think? Because if
Correct.
we continue on this path, then in 4 or 5 months, we're all out of a job. But if we
Correct.
change a little bit, we could potentially achieve this. What do you want to do? So you kind of give the power back to the employees and the teams and all that kind of stuff to find out what they want. And sure enough, there's some people out there who are not able to accept that either. And they may end up leaving the company or finding something else. And that may be the way to move forward. Like for companies and small businesses to grow and become successful, they need to be able to change, let people go, bring in new blood, and kind of scale from that perspective. You
Agreed.
mentioned teams a lot, like the importance of having good people around you, sharing ideas, being collaborative. So here's the question about putting your teams together. One, you may want a group of people who have similar mindsets and kind of work together. That's efficient. But then they may not be as innovative because they're not as diverse. But then if you have a diverse group, they may not have the same mindset and it's not as efficient. So, what's the best way to find a good team that balances both?
Yes, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, eh, if I had that solution, I'd probably be selling be a millionaire oh, many times over. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You mentioned some key points. You obviously don't want a team where there's groupthink, where everyone is too yeah, we all agree to this. So we all work in the same way. We know what the goal is. We're moving in the same direction. You probably or you do better with a more diverse team. However, that's where the critical piece is. You have to have shared interest, right? Shared maybe you don't have personal interest and it really doesn't I don't want to use, I want to be careful not to use the word matter in the larger scheme of things, but your business, right? So let's think about what the goal of this entity is. What are we trying to achieve? Okay. So this is how we're achieving it. So I'd say in that scenario, it's on whoever the leader is, the person in charge, it's on you to communicate the reason why you want diversity on the you got diversity brings in better results in my opinion in what I've seen. Having people agree, a matter of fact, you want some people to disagree with some of the things we're saying sometimes because maybe it's just they have good information that it's not right. But if you say you're disagreeing, where's your data, right? Data is always king. So I'll always encourage teams to work with in a diverse group, but what's important, what's guiding this team is an aligned vision, an aligned goal. So that it has to be communicated daily in many ways. You find actually when we're co-located, you use something called a Kanban board, which I have behind me here, but under it, you have a working agreement, something we call a working agreement. So you're saying to this team of 5 people or however many, seven, that listen, we agree we're gonna meet daily at this time. We agree we're gonna do XYZ. We agree we're gonna do this. Everybody, if you don't agree, raise your hand. So that way you're doing a pulse check with the team. And so the reason that is there under the board for everyone to see is that this is a reminder of what we're doing daily. This is a reminder of what the team is about. This is a reminder of what we're doing. And the point of experimenting early and failing fast is you already know fairly quickly in the month, okay, this isn't working. Maybe this team, back to your question, how to get the right people on the team. Maybe this team isn't working. The truth is, you could have the best interview and this person comes on board. They're not probably a good fit for your company. No one really knows, right? That is stuff that happens over time. However, what doesn't change is this is our goal. This is what we're doing. Maybe we get new information, we update that, but this is the direction we're going. That information needs to get out to the team frequently so that there is alignment. It's just a reminder. It's like I have a vision board, I have things like that here. It's a reminder to me that these are my goals. These are what I want to do. So everything I'm doing daily is to achieve that. It's the same way. You want to have that within your team. And what I found is I try not to use too much jargon and tech speak, and especially when you're talking to a small business owner. I'm not like I said, I come at them as at it like I'm not a tech person. I'm a layman. I'm speaking to you like like yes, this is what I learned. This is how you apply it. Does it make sense in your scenario? Maybe not. Maybe these other things will work. But here's one thing we should all have, though: a mindset that is ready to change. Maybe not easily, because change is not easy. That simple example: fold your arms, change it, and fold it the other way, and then you find people doing all of this. It's an exercise I do when I'm coaching, and it never fails. I just say, yeah, exactly. That's change because you're used to folding one arm over the other. If someone tells you to switch the other way, then you have okay, yeah, your brain is trying to think, okay, what's the best way to do this? That's how change is. but doesn't mean it's not necessary. It's going to be uncomfortable at first because you're doing things a little bit different from how you're doing it before, but the goal, which is what's important, is our customer. So at the head of everything you do with agility and as a small business is your customer, so keep that in mind. And once you let your team see that, it becomes easier for them. Hey, we would not be in business if we don't deliver value to the customer. So this is how we keep people um, collaborative and informed enough that yes, we want to be a part of this team. We want to, we're part of this mission, whatever the goal is of delivering value.
Totally
So
agreed. And you had a lot of great points there. And
yeah,
some of the things that you said is like integral in people's success, whether it's a small business, a one-man team, whatever it is, you still need that. You need to have the people around you to
yeah,
support and also challenge you. And at the same time, you also have to be able to change and adapt and all that kind of stuff, or else you end up going nowhere. You end up staying still, and if you're staying still, you're being left behind. And
correct.
and that's the truth of like technology is a great example. If you're standing still, you're being left behind. Now, we talked about the diversity of your team. Does that, I assume that also includes personalities. You have the alphas, you have the people who are a little bit more soft-spoken, and the soft-spoken ones usually will get overpowered by the alphas. Yes, they have different ideas, different thoughts and innovations, but when that other person speaks louder or speaks more, then this soft-spoken person starts to kind of drift away. So as the person who's doing a check, a pulse check with every with the members, do you have separate meetings as well?
No, so there's a time. Yes, so there's a time for so the Scrum Master, which is what I think you're asking. If you're running Scrum, again, Scrum is one way to be agile. It's not the only way, right? You don't have to do Scrum, for instance. But yes, it's important for whoever is like the Scrum Master in the Scrum scenario, or let's just say the project manager, if you don't have one, somebody who is responsible for coordinating all of this various teams. There was a time was on a project that had global teams. We had teams in London, in the UK. We had some teams in Australia, I think, and then some in Japan. So I was dealing with different time zones. Okay. So somebody is going to be responsible for coordinating all of that. You, whoever that person is, would have a one-on-one with those people, to your point. There'll be times for one-on-one conversations. However, for the benefit of the group, the reason that retro that I spoke about is important, whether you're running Scrum or whether you're in Kanban or whatever, I still recommend some form of retrospective, right? It's a point for you and the team to really hear from everybody. This is when so if you're familiar with software development, as far as personality traits, the people who are really don't say much, just do their work. The development team, right? The software engineer, they don't want to. They've told me many times, can we not have They don't want to have meetings. They'd rather not have meetings, right? They'd rather just stay at code. You're trying to fix code all day, write code, and that's that's their preference. They'd rather not talk. But there's a time and place where you want to hear from them. What's not working, right? So the retro or the daily check-in, there are two times where you do this. Daily, you're giving everybody a chance to talk. 2 minutes short, right? But that is normally focused on the work they're doing, specific work. Now, as far as getting more information about the direction the team is going overall. Maybe as a project manager, as a Scrum Master, you have a one-on-one with each person at different times, but it's still recommended to sync up with the group when you have like a retrospective where everyone is talking about, you know what? I didn't like how we developed that the last time. Okay, what's the recommendation? So who should own that task? So you leave that meeting with an owner of specific improvements you want to see. You don't leave with, yeah, we talked about this, and then what? So it's got to be back to your question. Yes, there's a time for one-on-one, but there's always a time for joint sessions where everyone is syncing up and information is just shared across board.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, I just noticed that our time went by very, very fast, and also realized that we could talk about this for a long, long time. So, I think I'll leave it with one more message from you. What's if you were to give one more big advice, whether it's life, entrepreneurship, business, success, whatever it is, what would that advice be?
Well, continue to learn, just have a mindset of learning. And if there's a one big takeaway from today, look for ways to be agile in what you do. And if that implies just identifying what small part of your work you can improve on with your customers' input, try daily check-ins. Never hurts to just say, hey, how you doing? Try prioritizing tasks. Use AI to automate your task wherever possible. My team, my company does help small businesses implement AI. So I spoke about how I did built a chatbot for specific to help an insurance broker qualify his leads and just lead to sales. You could do things like that. If you don't know how, you can talk to organizations like mine and we can help you do. But really just focus on progress over perfection. That's if there's anything, if you don't remember anything, progress over perfection always helps.
Very well said. So I lied. Before I let you go, five quick rapid fire questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Uh-oh.
All right, it's for fun. You're stranded on the desert island. One food to eat for the rest of your life. What would that be?
Hmm.
And you still be in shape, fit, and healthy. So it doesn't matter what it is. What would that one thing that you would like to eat for the rest of your life be?
Other than water, um, nothing comes to mind. Uh, bread.
Wow,
I
you
don't know
have a
how
whole
you
long
bake it.
list of food and you end up with bread.
I don't know.
So, okay, Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Dare, we love your story. Very inspirational. We would love to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
Hmm. Tay Diggs, because been told there's some similarities there. Tay
Awesome.
Diggs. Yeah.
He shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, buddy, I got casted to play you. Let's have some fun. Let's go out." And you go, "You know what? I got it all planned out. What does that night look like to you?"
Yeah, we'll have a conversation over coffee. I'll probably be starstruck. So I'll be out there talking and talking. Yeah. But yeah, we'll just sit down, have a conversation over dinner or a nice bottle. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dinner didn't go as planned because the restaurant that you booked is full, and for some reason, they forgot to keep your reservation. So you go, "Hey, no worries. Come back to my place. I'll fix you something special, my specialty. What's your special dish that you could prepare?"
Oh, know why I had an issue with the food? Because I'm not a foodie. So I could eat pasta all day. So it'd be a variation of a type of pasta.
Awesome. Give me a
Yeah.
number from one to three.
One, two, three, three.
One, two, three. So the word is elephant.
Hmm.
So if you were to use the elephant as a metaphor for success, how is success like an elephant?
So the elephant in the room here is the fact that life around us is moving fast, and technology is moving fast. To keep up, you have to have a mindset of agility, a mindset of being able to shift based on new information that's happening around you. I would say just keep at it, right? There isn't a perfect person, there isn't a perfect product. You are good as you are. You want to make yourself a better version of today than you were yesterday. And that would be the way I go about it daily.
I see that. So that's how success is like an elephant, and therefore you have to address the elephant in the room. Um, thank you very much for your time. Once again, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, get your book, and also any final words?
Sure, you can get the book at agilemadesimpleBook.com. You could, if you want a quick strategy session, I'm offering some at alpha.dapmsolutions.com. And that's all there. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and the name is just Darian MAKUN. It's the same name across all platforms. I've had a wonderful time just talking to you, and I could see how time went by and we didn't even know it.
Well, thank you once again. So everybody out there, make sure you get a copy of his book, connect with Dare. And if you are one of those people who has a small business and want to make that more successful, scale it, grow it with less and less stress, then Dare is the guy to chat with and connect with. So make sure you do that. Until next time, he's Dare. I'm Fong. Today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Fong.